Welcome to a breaking news live edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, presented by the Glebe Central Club. And we got to get rid of that. I was getting the notes out. We're live. We're fired up. The Ottawa Senators have made an enormous trade, the biggest trade of this trade deadline season. I'm Ross Levitan. I got at Lalim's Martian with me. Jack Richardson's going to jump on in a little while, give his 2 cents. And maybe even another special guest, but we'll save that to the imagination for now. Martian, how'd you find out that Jakob Chychrun is an Ottawa Senator? And take us through the entire trade, because I know there's some conditions as well.
Ross, I was making dinner. I was making some delicious tacos. I just finished doing the dishes, and I take a look at my phone, and it's absolutely blown up. Jake Chychrun is an Ottawa Senator. And, of course, you see those things, and you go, is this real? I got to make sure, double check. Are things real? It's real, buddy. This is happening. He's coming over. He's meeting the team in New York. The Sens are giving up. Here we go. A first-round pick in this year's draft, top 5 protected, okay? If the Sens somehow end up winning that lottery and that condition hits, that pick becomes a top 5 pick or a first-round pick in next year's draft. And then the other 2 picks are a second-round pick next year's draft and a second-round pick in 2026. So the Sens didn't even have to give up really only 1 first-round pick for Jake Chychrun and a couple seconds if all goes well. That second-round pick, though, would become a first-round pick if the Sens end up making the Eastern Conference Finals this season. So if the Sens go on a run, I don't think we're going to care too much about that second becoming a first. But there's a lot of conditions on these, so it's real interesting to see. But I couldn't be any happier, buddy. This is sweet.
It's so sweet. We're going to get into how Jakob Chychrun fits on this Ottawa Senators team. We have to note, this is not a rental. This is a guy who signed for 2 years beyond this one at Nikita Zaitsev money. So you look at the precursor to this that we broke down last week, Martian, and we made note. We said they get 4.5 off the books, no retained salary. They give up a second and a fourth to do it, but we knew there was another move in the chamber. And by Pierre LeBrun tweeting out that the Coyotes went back to Ottawa last week because Ottawa said, hell no, we're not giving you Ridley Gregg. Hell no, we're not giving you Shane Pinto. Matt Sogard is untouchable. So come back when you want picks, because we don't care about picks anymore. Picks are magic beans. We want prized possessions like Jakob Chychrun.
And the other thing about that, too, is some of the other teams that were in the mix for Chychrun were hoping that Arizona would retain salary as well. So I think that was really the big daddy topper for the Coyotes, not having to retain any money. They've only got 1 retention slot left. Obviously, they just got rid of Gostisbehere. There was talk about retaining salary on that deal. That never ended up happening. So they really did a great job with leveraging the things that they had available to them as far as like cap space goes, and just given just enough to make this happen. And when you look at what they gave up, Ross, that's just a smoking bargain bin deal for a guy like Jake Chychrun, who is just a monster two-way defenseman. He's a big boy. He can play both sides, which is super important, obviously, for the Sens. I'll admit I haven't watched a ton of Jake Chychrun hockey. I'm not a big Coyotes guy myself as far as watching their games, although they've been pretty fun to watch in the mullet. But buddy, like, to get a guy like Jake Chychrun, who's a certified stud in the league, I think he's actually probably super underrated across the league just because he's been in Arizona all this time. We know what it's like when a guy's in a small market like that, probably not getting all the eyeballs. He's happy to be coming to Ottawa. We're happy to have him. He's got local ties. Let's get this thing. Let's make a run, baby.
Yeah, and the local ties you're alluding to, his family's from here. They still live in the area, but he was born in Boca Raton while his dad was playing for the Florida Panthers. But they come up every summer. I know some old tweets resurfaced about him calling it God's country. I think it's somewhere in the Ottawa Valley that they spend their summers. So I love it. He's fired up to be here. I think it was Bruce Garriock that gave us the quote from Andy Scott, right, Chychrun's agent, saying he's ecstatic. And we heard the streets were talking in the summer that this was Jakob Chychrun's preferred destination, which we don't get to say very often. But hey, it worked with Claude Giroux, and now Jakob Chychrun is coming home.
Buddy, this is unreal times. And these are the type of things that when you're a fan and this happens, like, we're on fire right now. You're in Mexico. You're going to be celebrating tonight.
Hey, bottles on me. Bottles on me. At the all-inclusive.
No, it's your bachelor party. You shouldn't be paying for. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, at the all-inclusive. Nice. You got me.
Yeah, hey, just pimp it. Be like, yeah, another bottle. Yeah, over here. Don't worry. Put on my tab.
Yeah, exactly. Right there. I'll take care of you later, bud.
Oh, dude, this is awesome. I was literally my last big vacation was when I went for my dad's 80th birthday, and I was in the middle of the Greek islands when they got DeBrincat. So I better travel more because then Dorian gets to work.
And Pillsy was on a plane last time when Brady Tkachuk got signed. So you guys traveling is just a good omen for the Ottawa Senators. I think we should just, as a fan base, keep it rolling here. Keep you guys on the road all the time because good things happen when the Locked On Sens boys are on the road.
Hey, you know what? You know who's probably even more excited than us right now?
Who's that?
Thomas Chabot.
Oh my God, you gotta think he's one of the happiest guys going right now, knowing that he's got a certified stud coming into. Assuming he's going to be his partner, right? He might end up with Zub. So
let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
Who do you think they're going to play him with to start? Like, I mean, I don't.
Let's answer. Let's get those in the chat. I want to know, who are you starting Jakob Chychrun with? We asked the question on Twitter at Sen Central, and an overwhelming majority, total of 72% of over 1,000 votes in the first hour and a half, say that Jakob Chychrun should play on the right side. Sanderson at 24%, and it is worth noting that with North Dakota, he did play a bit on the right side. Not a lot, but a little bit when they needed him. So that's an option. I don't think Chabot's ever played on the right side, but
I don't think so either.
I think you talk to him and you say, where are you most comfortable? And then you get into it from there. But Jakob Chychrun certainly makes the team better. I think a lot of people, Chabot Sanderson is also a good idea. Our guy Jimmy Hyde mentioning, like, hey, throw Sanderson up on Chabot's right side. That could make for some nice offensive possession. But when you look at like the heat graphs and everything in the offensive zone, Chychrun does a lot of his damage from the left point. He's a shooter. Like, among most defensemen, I'm actually going to pull up the stats, but I feel like he's been near the top of shots per game among defensemen. He gets everything to the net. Who wouldn't want him out there when Brady's in front of the net then?
You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I'm thinking. He's a guy who gets pucks through, and who better to be standing in front of the net, screening goalies and whacking in rebounds than Brady Tkachuk. That's going to be a deadly combo. And, I mean, we could get right into the power play, too. Like, because he's going to be on one of those units, assuming they're probably going to start him on the second unit. But all of a sudden, that unit looks super dangerous, too, with him coming into the mix there as well. Ross, this young core is an absolute wagon. Despite what may end up happening throughout this stretch run, they're going to make a hell of a push. You know that's going to happen. But this year and beyond, this young core is locked in, other than Alex DeBrincat, who, of course, they have control over for next year as well. So that's not a huge concern. Got to assume they're going to get that done in the offseason. But look at these young players they've got going, and they're all going to grow together. Chychrun's 24 years old. He fits perfectly age-wise in this team. Buddy, what are we doing here? Pierre Dorion, we got to give this guy major stick taps, right? Because it was the summer of Pierre, and he's been quiet, and he's been lurking in the shadows. I was just listening to the Jeff Merrick show right earlier today, and they were naming all these teams that they thought were in the mix with Jake Chychrun, and Ottawa was just that kind of forgotten team because it kind of seemed like they had, come out of the running for him. So I love the way Pierre kind of quietly was working on this, didn't let any of us know. There was no leaks. Running a tight ship and getting it done. And that is how you run a hockey team from a hockey operations standpoint. But to go back to who I think Jake Chychrun is going to play with to start things off, I'm going straight to Jake Sanderson. You go, give me, Chabot and Zub as a comfortable pairing. They've played together. They're, they what you're going to get there. Jake Sanderson now is no longer going to have to play with Travis Hamonic, who did a great job just, with the time that they had together. Can't be too upset with Hamonic's performance. But let's face it, he's probably not a second pair defenseman. So, moving him down to the third pairing gives you that extra depth on that pairing. And then Jake Sanderson gets to play with Jakob Chychrun, who's got experience. The two Jakes, like, come on, let's go. And, having those two guys together with Chychrun having that experience on the right side, I don't think it's going to be a major issue. He's going to be fired up to be coming in here. He's not going to care what side of the ice he's going to be playing on. He just wants to be on the ice because he's been sitting out for the last 2 weeks, Ross.
He hasn't played in almost 3 weeks, which brings us to another very important conversation. When can we expect Jakob Chychrun to make his Senators debut? Bruce Garriock reporting that he is going to meet the team in New York City. The Sens are in New York and then come back home for a Saturday game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I bet you Chychrun's the happiest guy that he's playing in that game, but not for Columbus, who had been rumored to be making a big push for his services. But he comes to Ottawa, his immediate favorite destination. We're going to get into that conversation. And Jake Chychrun, well, I'm seeing Ali in the notes as TSN says he's going to play in New York tomorrow. We're gonna get Jack Richardson. We got so many Jakes. We're talking Sanderson. We're talking Chychrun. Jack Richardson's going to give us his take on this. But first, I want to let everyone know that today's episode, breaking news episode, is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the official sportsbook of Locked On. You can make every moment more by heading to FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network for good reason. You can go. You want to get spicy? Head on over to FanDuel right now and go throw a couple shekels on the Senators to win the Stanley Cup, or at least the Eastern Conference, although then we're giving up another first-round pick. Eh? Who cares? Screw them picks. Go ahead over, make your own picks at FanDuel.com. You can trade as many away as you need, but you can always head back to FanDuel. They've got the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if you don't win. Head to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets. Go check out the same game parlays. Martian has made a fortune on that. Do it responsibly. Do it at FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of the NBA and our official one here in the Locked On Podcast Network. I also have to say a quick word from our friends at Indeed. New sponsor alert, Indeed Job Shop. No matter how your last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. So give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. After spending hours on multiple job sites, you can make sure you get the right candidate. Indeed partners with you every step of the way. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you'll get a short list of quality candidates and you'll get to go for them. You can only pay for what quality candidates meet your requirements. So start hiring right now with $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your post at Indeed.com/locked-on. This offer is valid through March 31st, 2023. Go to Indeed.com/locked-on to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. That's Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed.
Well, the Ottawa Senators pretty much hired Jake Chychrun for the next 2.5 years and hopefully longer after that. What an absolutely stunning pickup. I'm Ross Levitan. Go follow at Laleem's Martian. I gave him a little secondary assist, a little tap in. Go check out his most recent tweet. Absolute money there. Words we cannot say on the pod, but 700. This might be a live record. And I think that just shows you, Martian, Sens Nation is fired up. The citizens wanted it. And man, we've manifested 2 big-time additions recently now with DeBrincat and Jakob Chychrun.
We are back and we are awake and manifesting. Don't forget Claude Giroux as well, Ross. That's 3 for 3. What a hot year for Sens, Sens land, just talking about these guys and manifesting it. And Pierre's lurking on the old Twitter too. So who knows what kind of influence, the fan base has. He's got to keep us happy too, right? So really happy for everybody who's here in this chat. Like, this is a great day, you guys. And this is a hell of a pickup.
And as Madeline says in the chat comments, like, if you're Alex DeBrincat, how does this change your outlook, knowing that they didn't just get someone who signed for the rest of this year? This is a long-term view, and they didn't give up a single prospect to do it. Unbelievable.
How can you be Alex DeBrincat and not look at this and think that I'm the same age as these guys? These guys are really good. He knows how good this team is, this young core can be, and they're building something really special here. And the way they've been playing lately to get rewarded with a huge pickup, not just a little pickup. You said it. They could have easily just picked up a UFA, decent little right-hand defenseman, such as Shane Gostisbehere, right? Would have been. Buddy,
I would have been happy. I would have been happy with Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Well, you don't have to be happy about Trevor Van Riemsdyk because you've got Jakob Chychrun. Jacob with the K, baby. I love Jacob
with a K. And now we'll get Jack with a K coming on in a second. But first, let's go over the trade one more time. Jakob Chychrun, his $4.6 million cap hit for not the rest of this year, but all of next year, all of the year after, is coming to Ottawa in exchange for a top 5 protected first-round pick in this upcoming draft, a second-round pick in next year's draft that would become a first if the Senators make it to the conference final, and another second-round pick as well, right?
That's correct, Ross. Yes.
Perfect. And Jakob Chychrun is a member of the Ottawa Senators. Oh, people haven't even gotten to see my username yet because we'll be able to throw our participant's name on here. Bang, you like what I did with mine? Thank you very much. Jakob Chychrun, super fan. As we got Jack Richardson with us, member of the Postcast crew. You can follow him on Twitter at Jack Richardson. What's up, buddy? How you feeling?
Fellas, what a night. What a night. Ruining the bachelor trip there for Ross a little bit, which is all right. If it's
Not
news like
ruined.
this, yeah.
On the contrary.
If it's news like this, it's all right, man. I mean, I had to do a couple swipes on Twitter to make sure it was the real Sens account. Because it was too good to be true, man. And like, just for picks, like no Pinto, no Greg, no Solgaard who was thrown out this morning. Like, what a trade for Pierre Dorion.
It's wild. So did you find out just by refreshing Twitter? Was that your note?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was hot on it. I was doing nothing. I was just refreshing Twitter, and I was one of the first. I got to call a couple buddies, let them know, which was cool. But yeah, so no instant reaction. I was just, oh my god, like it's crazy.
Man, I found out by somebody messaged us in a group chat, and he said, "Oh, this is only on YouTube." I'm actually going to post it on audio afterwards, but everyone here in the chat, all 730, you can see our how I found out was this, and I was like, I don't really get it. My buddy Chris Parliament, the OG Locked On Senators fans will remember, he was a part of Making Sense of the Sens. He goes, Pierre got me feeling like this, and it's Brady Tkachuk as Buddy the Elf, where he's just smiling, and I was like, I don't get it. What's he mean? And then I go on Twitter, and obviously right away you're able to see that. But yeah, I was like, yeah, timing could have been better, Pierre. I'm literally in line checking in at the all-inclusive, looking for a couple margaritas to call my name. I could hear it. You know when you put like a seashell, a conch shell to your ear, you can hear the ocean? I could hear the margaritas, like the salted rim, just like rubbing my ear. And next thing you know, Jakob Chychrun's an Ottawa Senator, and we'll have to wait. So I got the espresso rolling here. I'm absolutely buzzing. Martian,
you're on that natural buzz right now, Ross.
Big time. How'd you find out about the trade, Martian?
Yeah, same thing. I just popped open Twitter. I could feel my phone buzzing, but that's nothing new. So I was, just making some tacos, man. And next thing I know, I take a peek and it's real. So, taco night got a little bit better here. It tastes a little sweeter when you know the Sens have acquired a nice top 4 defenseman here, fellas.
Let us know in the chat as well. I want to hear all your individual stories about how you found out that Jakob Chychrun was coming to Ottawa. Now, our first episode was before the draft, guys, that we said, is Jakob Chychrun coming to Ottawa? This had been the most long rumored thing of all time. But at the same time, we didn't really get any leaks. Like the insiders, I feel like that was more Arizona too, where it was like who they were asking for, but we never really got Ottawa's perspective of what they were standing pat and being like, oh, are we going to include like an Ostapchuk or like it wasn't going to be Greg or Pinto. I don't think Ottawa would have gone to that lengths. They would have said, okay, go somewhere else. All good. And then I was convinced it was good as dead as of this morning when Detroit got a first-round pick back, and now they have multiple first-round picks after Hronek was just embarrassed the past 2 games by the Ottawa Senators. They get a first back, and I'm like, no, wait. Like I can picture Jakob Chychrun in a Red Wings jersey, and like 100%. That didn't sit well with me. I thought he was going there for sure because I thought this Yzer plan, we could spend a whole segment. We don't have to, but I feel like they've kind of planted a seed that he's perfect when he's not. But that seed had convinced me that Chychrun was going to Detroit. So I was completely out on it. I was looking as like you said, oh, I wonder if Pilsy's sad right now. We're not going to get Michael Benning anymore. Damn it, guys. Matt Benning. Damn it. But Jack, so last segment, we were talking about who we think he would fit in with best and if he's the guy playing right side. Like, obviously, DJ is going to have to experiment a little bit. We know Brandstrom's played the right side, but he's not even a top 4 guy at all. And I know even the Brandstrom lovers are probably going to be like, I don't know where he fits in the top 4 anymore because now you've got Zub, Chychrun, Sanderson, and Shabbat. You're locked and loaded as a top 4 crew. How do you shake out who plays with who and who moves to the right?
I think immediately you think of him beside Jake Sanderson. On that second pair, you want to call it, that would be a first pair, I think, in my books. But having him on the right side there, but another thing you can consider is maybe more on the road, because the Sens have been great at home, but the road is kind of where they've struggled. And I'm getting ahead of myself here. Playoff time, they're going to need to win some road games because they won't have home ice, right? So let's go that far. The idea that you can put Chychrun on the third pair and have Sanderson, Chabot, and Chychrun on the ice at all times.
Yeah,
that's a matchup nightmare for any kind of forward group. You know what I mean? So that's what's enticing to me. But right now, I would put him right beside Jake Sanderson for tomorrow. Is he playing tomorrow? Do we know that yet? Because I think he's been sitting for 3 weeks, so we know he's healthy at least. But
yeah, they say he's meeting. He's going to be meeting the team out there, and it's not confirmed yet if he's going to play. But I mean, God, how are you going to stop this guy from stepping on the ice surface right now? Right, like.
And this guy's a beast. Okay, like I played. I grew up playing hockey. His uncle, I believe, was kind of in and around. I was played with a kid the same age as him, or same age as me anyway. And like in the family, like he's with the Do It for Darren. It's a very small community there. They're all connected with that, with Luke Richardson and everything. He's a tank, an absolute tank. And you could see it even off the ice now, but like just works his bag off. So
yeah, he's a monster in the gym, right?
DJ Smith is gonna love this guy. He's just a workhorse. So I like him. But to answer the question, I like him beside Jake Sanderson for sure.
As the right side guy,
I think so. Like I don't know. Watching Sanderson, I don't see why he would struggle on the right. But as a rookie, like just keep him comfortable. He's fine right there. Maybe next year, maybe later. But I'd throw Jakob Chychrun on the right side right now. Feed him to the Wolves.
I love that. Nightmarish 98 says he was doing his taxes when the deal goes in. Hopefully I didn't add any extra sixes, as now the question comes, what number will Jake Chychrun wear? Is he going to take 6? I mean, it's Ring of Honor. It's clearly not left for Wade. What 6 has been worn since Wade though, right?
Yeah, Bobby Ryan.
Oh, right. Has it been worn since Bobby?
I don't think so.
No, probably not.
Now. Hey, a little trivia for everyone here. Whoa. It has been worn since then, but get this. Out of the single-digit numbers for the Ottawa Senators, 15 players have worn 2, 10-3, 12-5. This is, anyways, it's dumb. There's double digits for every single-digit number except obviously 4 with Chris Phillips. And number 6, anyone in the chat know? Because it's going to be obvious. Yeah, people know in the chat. Chris Weidman wore number 6,
right?
Of course, the Ottawa Senators. So that's an easy one there that we probably not Brian Lee was 5, but that's too much. But I think he's gonna wear 6. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
He should wear 66 and just make it the weirdest decor ever.
That's Lemieux's number.
With Sanderson being 85, Chabot 72, just like be the weirdest decor for numbers going. But I think he'll be number 6. And boys, I don't think it's too hot of a take that we're going to see a lot of Chychrun 6 jerseys walking around the CTC sooner
by Saturday.
I've seen people are buying them already. So it depends on how quick they can ship these puppies out.
I got a question for you two. I don't know if you guys addressed it at all. Is he the best defenseman on the team right now? Is he better than Chabot? Is he having a better year than Thomas Chabot? Because I in all the trade talk with him, I didn't really consider that, but you gotta have the discussion. Did they just get the best defenseman on the team?
The fact that we're able to even have discourse around this is amazing, right? Because everybody's been saying, Sanderson's been playing better than Chabot and vice versa. I think there's an argument to be made there for either of those guys. Jakob Chychrun plays a very kind of similar game to both those guys, but he's a little bit more physical even. And me and Ross talked about his ability to get pucks to the net. They all kind of bring something a little bit different to the table, right? Chychrun's got that offensive, pop where he can fire pucks from up top. Chabot's got that smooth skating style and that real good composure and poise. And Sanderson obviously is his wheels because those things just move. So those 3 guys in the new age NHL. That's exactly the kind of decor that is going to win hockey games. You can't just do it all, wheeling and dealing and being offensive all the time. But I think for me, Chychrun might be the best defense as long as he can handle the right side well. I think he might be the best defenseman on this team. And let's not even forget Artem Zub too, because our boy looked pretty good the other night too in the last few games, and he does his thing out there as well. That top 4 is legitimate.
It's legit, dude. And a lot of people still saying Jake Sanderson's the best defenseman on this team. And boys, he's 20 years old. Jack, I know you're a big fan of Donald Musician's work at The Athletic, and I'm more and more, especially when he pulls up numbers like this. He's got Jake Chychrun's market value at $10.4 million with what he adds to the team in terms of percentiles. Now, I'm not going to judge anybody if they don't give a crap about all these numbers and bars. It's all kind of subjective, but hey, it's better than being complete zeros and having everyone say it's a bad deal. I am honestly just shocked that not a single prospect went in either the trade for DeBrincat or for Jakob Chychrun. 0 prospects, guys. And they don't have a whole lot of top end prospects anymore. But you want to hold on to the guys who you feel are closer to jumping into the NHL, because then when you're in a run for the playoffs or whatnot, whether it's this year or next year, when you can get like a bottom 6 guy on their entry-level contract, that's going to help this team going forward, because we can all kind of laud this trade right now, and that's why next year's 4.5 of Zaitsev being off is so humongous. But they're going to get a lot tied up into DeBrincat. Pinto needs a new deal. We're going to have a lot to discuss about the cap, which is completely foreign territory since we started this show. It's always been, how can we get to the cap floor? Like, can we sign someone? Can we claim someone off waivers? Let's get to the floor, fellas. But now it's a serious team. That had to be a happy flight on the way to New York today. And it might be a fun night, because think about it. They're playing the Rangers tomorrow, and they go out and see Tarasenko was a couple weeks ago. Patrick Kane's in the lineup. They're like, okay, this is what a serious contender looks like. But now they're like, hey, now they got the shoulders back a little bit. They're like, hey, we knew our biggest weakness was defense, and we just went out and got the biggest fish in the pond, right? You're trophy hunting with this pickup with Jakob Chychrun. You come back, your boat's a little bit lower in the water, and you got to take that fish out, because he's absolute stud. He's been playing over 22 minutes a game down in Arizona, and I know plus minus, it's not everything at all, and clearly I don't think it's that much, but what is when you see a team where all the guys are in a certain realm, and then one guy isn't there. Well, that guy was Jakob Chychrun for the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes have 2 players that are above +3 this year, and their only guy who's +3 is Michael Carcone, Belleville Sens legend, and that's Nick Bjugstad and Jakob Chychrun. Fellas, I wonder what the conversations were like in that negotiation. I have a feeling Nick Bjugstad's name might have been brought up, because I think that's the one move left for Ottawa, is can we get like a middle 6 center on an expiring contract? I don't think they're going to want to take on any more money for next year. Use it on what you have. Hope that Pinto and or Greg can develop into a top 6 center, or even top 9, right? Because Norris will be back next year. But I think that might be the last move. We'll get into some more Chychrun, because I know we've got a lot more new guests, and that's the thing about being live, right? We got to kind of regroup and make sure that the people who are new get the takes. But that's my last question before we regroup on Chychrun. Martian, do you think that the Sens are done, or is there still another trade to be made?
Definitely not done, Ross. I don't think so one bit. I think you nailed it, that they're, Bruce has reported on it. They're looking for a depth centerman. It's basically going to be an upgrade on Gambrell, which shouldn't be too difficult, because, he's a tweener, absolutely, between the AHL and the NHL, although he's had his points lately too. He's done his job as well. But yeah, anyway, so we're looking now at getting a bottom 6 centerman. I'd be looking at a guy like Nick Bonino, maybe something like that. Some guy who's on an expiring deal. He's got 19 points in whatever it is, 50 something games. He's a good, guy who's had, he's had success in the playoffs, and he's a grinder. He's going to bring the right attitude. I think everywhere he goes, everyone talks about how much his teammates love him. He could probably come in smoothly. He's played for a good amount of different teams, right? So he knows how to enter a new locker room and not disrupt things a little bit too much. And then if I really want to throw a name out there that's going to shake things up and really add to the speculation, this is a player that has a little bit more skill and also ties to Brady Tkachuk, and that would be Kevin Hayes. And he's a guy who's been on the rumor mill here for a little while, and I think that he would be a fun fit. I don't necessarily love the idea of it. I think that contract's a little scary. But for me, those are kind of 2 names that I would be a little bit intrigued by. I don't know, Jack, what about you, buddy?
Hayes was going to be the one I mentioned if they didn't make this move and they just kind of stood pat, got a, bottom pairing defenseman just to ride out the season, but I don't think they're going to make any moves. The only thing I would see them doing is addressing goaltending if they move on from Talbot. I don't think they're going to move on from him anymore. I think the win on Monday, and then I don't know if you guys saw the video on the plane where they announced Sogard. I love that stuff. Like the plane, we need more plane content from the Sens. That's the one.
Yeah, is that the first time we've seen the plane?
I think so, honestly. Like it just feels like I'm not supposed to be there, which is kind of cool. But so seeing that, Talbot just talking to the boys, being like, we got ourselves back into this. Like, I think if you trade him now, even if he doesn't want to be here next season, that sends the wrong message too. He's your own rental. Austin Watson, same thing. Maybe a little upgrade at center, like you mentioned. Nick Bonino would be a great guy to add. But I think this was it. If I have a hunch, like, they're done. I would imagine maybe something changes after tomorrow's game, but that's my hunch.
While we're on the topic, you just mentioned Austin Watson. I know I had a tweet a couple of days ago that drummed up a little bit of discourse, I'll say, on Twitter about maybe just keeping a guy like that if you're going to decide to be a buyer. Well, they're clearly buyers. This is a depth guy who's going to bring that heart and soul stuff. Where are you guys at with that? You guys think they're going to keep Watson now? I mean, obviously they could trade him. I now am officially the number one Austin Watson stan on Sens Twitter. I will not stand for anything but keeping him. I'll start a fire. But no, I'm dead serious. I think you got to keep this guy around now, especially after the night he had last night. And I was in the building for that, and he was an electric factory. Scoring goals, making hits, cutting his eye wide open, and giving the old salute to the crowd. How can you not love that? And the boys love that. And I just don't want to shake up the locker room too much either. These guys are playing for each other out there.
Boys, can I give you a very hot take? And it would have to come with some salary retention, but I just looked at his contract, and a lot of his salary has been paid out already. There's 3 years. There's this year and 2 years left on it. What do you think it would take to get Jean-Gabriel Pageau? Ever heard of him?
There's a lot of people, all the same people who are begging for us to get Carlson back will be really happy to hear you say that.
I'm just throwing shit against the wall for that one, but it would be hilarious. And it's like that middle six guy who you're saying, but obviously I digress on that one. I just thought it'd be a fun name for an Islanders team that are they in or are they out, but it would be obviously hilarious. We know Pierre Dorion loves the friendship tour. Here's the tweet that I'll take more seriously from Jakob Chychrun. Cottage time feels oh so good to be home. Yes, Jakob Chychrun coming home. Shout out White Lake in the Valley, Arnprior, Pakenham. We had some there. And I would like everyone to see this officially. Boom. We are now following Jakob Chychrun as it was meant to be. Jakob Chychrun is an Ottawa Senator for exactly 0 players, 0 prospects. The return, a first-round pick this year, a second next year, a second in 2026. The vibes are chef's kiss. All the grades seem to be A for Ottawa, D for Arizona. You held your cards too long, Bill Armstrong. You thought you were a superhero. You got your picks, but my goodness, a lot to be desired if you're a Coyotes fan, I think, looking at this. I can't even ask you guys for the scouting report because nothing else is going to Arizona, which is shocking to me. But Jakob Chychrun, I think, probably starts on the right side. I'm going to go with Chabot, though. I think that just based on how much he's carried his partner around the ice the last number of years, give this guy the toy that he needs to play with and just let him feel good. I think that the narrative might change a lot about Thomas Chabot when we see him play with a certified stud, as you were saying, Martian.
I don't hate that. Throw him a cookie, right? Like this guy's been dealing with I mean, let's face it here, replacement level partnership for the better part of the last 4 or 5 years. So put him with the stud, the brand new shiny toy. He gets to be out there, and Chychrun's going to come in and play his best. Coming into a new team all excited. So I don't mind that idea, Ross. I kind of like it, and that gives Sanderson that stability as well with Artem Zub.
AJ making a great point here. The draft pick acquired in this deal, one of them at least, the prospects are 14 years old right now. So screw them picks, guys. We got a lot of Valley fellas in the chat right here. My old man's from Almont, so I love hearing it. But it's great to see that everyone's mentioning White Lake and that they're from around there. So that's awesome. And you just know Jake Chychrun's a big Shawarma Palace guy too. So we got to just absolutely throw that in there. If you're in Ottawa, boy, you have to be. So shout out Shawarma Palace. Jack, like where are you at like tomorrow morning? Obviously we're running off adrenaline right now, but when you wake up tomorrow, maybe try to give me like a more less reactionary, but more like long term? Where do you see the outlook on this? Because we've talked about Chabot. I'm not saying like, hey, move Chabot. I'm not saying anything like that. But now all of a sudden, if you're Thomas Chabot, you've got a left-hand guy who's signed for the next 2 years at almost half of what you're making. If you're Thomas Chabot, does that not give you a kick in the ass? Say, hey, I got to be way better than this guy too.
It should in a good way though, right? Like healthy competition. Like we talked about Sanderson being that guy this year, and he has been, and he's, Chabot's elevated his game recently, especially. He was fantastic against Detroit, but there's another guy now. Jakob Chychrun is a year younger than Chabot. They're the same, drafted around the same area, kind of been on not so good hockey teams their whole career. I don't know. I think that the question I brought up of is Chychrun the best defenseman on this team, we're going to start talking about that. Like, we've got 3 guys now, 3 of the 6 who can legitimately challenge for that number 1 spot on the blue line. And power play won't be taken from Chabot because I don't think Chychrun's a great power play guy. But then again, he was in Arizona for the last, 5 years. And
he didn't have Brady. We were talking about that. He didn't have Brady Tkachuk standing in front of the net.
No, he didn't. Right. And that's free apples.
Those are free. Exactly. 3 points for you.
Hey, he had Clayton Keller, and goalies are just looking over him saying, all good. I got it.
I think they actually had a good power play, but it was Gossesbear back there who they traded today also for a 3rd round pick. So another great trade there for the Coyotes. I'm shocked, man. I can't believe they overplayed that hand. That's like the Sens holding on to Erik Karlsson throughout that contract year and then trading him for 3 draft picks, and they traded him for 6 assets instead. Assets are key, especially for the Coyotes, and they kind of fumbled that.
You know what? Let's give the Coyotes a little bit of credit if we can, and maybe this is me just like, when you like rob someone and then buy them a drink with their money, it's like, hey, let's give them a little bit of respect here as they have accumulated so many draft picks, dude. They put the Sens' height of their rebuild to shame, guys.
But that's why, like, you have to be after a prospect or 2 at some point, right? Like, so many draft. I think the Blackhawks GM was talking about was spreading it out a little bit. Don't the Coyotes have like 4? Yeah, like look at that. That's crazy. It's obviously a good problem to have.
Wait, but I gotta scroll down because my name covers a whole year here. That better?
Yeah. Like that's great, but like 4 second round picks in back-to-back years, you got to spread that out somehow and get some actual prospects who are, in their early 20s at least, because all these kids are like 16, 17 years old right now.
So Ottawa traded Washington's, or what's the deal here? Is this just the hire? Here we go. No, so
if they make the conference final this year, it becomes the Sens 2024 first with top 10 protection.
Unprotected, but
which is strange. Matter. Like conference final, like a really
with top 10 protection, Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, correct. Right. But then it'd be unprotected for a 14-year-old right now.
In 2025, which is just okay. I mean, I don't know how those conditions come about. Like who of Dorion and Armstrong is being like the conference final? You think that's Dorion being like, if we make conference final, I'll slide you a first instead.
Yeah. So Jeff's mentioning in the chat as well, like this is the Connor Brown second. So it's not Ottawa's own 2nd round pick.
Right. That's great.
Yeah, they kept their own, which
I don't care. I don't care whose 2nd round pick it is, Ross. Let's be real.
And I love this. I love this from Graham. So 9 picks in Zaitsev for Chychrun and DeBrincat. Like that's such a cool way to look at it.
Oh my
9 picks.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it.
9 picks, great. Dude. That's more than a full year.
Did you guys talk about Hronek, that trade that happened earlier, right? Because you mentioned about Chychrun maybe being in Detroit because of that move.
Yeah, not much.
Let's compare the trade packages. That's kind of similar, like a little bit, right? Islanders, Sens first round are going to be the same area. Like I mean,
I do wonder if it was Stevie Y's plan to make that move and eventually, use those picks to acquire Chychrun. And I think maybe Dorion just beat him to the punch. It's just like, I can't let this happen. Detroit can't get him. He's ours. And he made the deal, right? So you never know what kind of, what's going on behind those scenes. But it's really interesting to see that, Hronek got a bit of a haul. Like, I barely know who this guy is. And the last few games I've been watching him, like, I don't know if he's that good. He's got putting up a good amount of points, but.
He was getting bullied in his own zone.
Yeah.
By the way, how sick is this?
That looks like a good time, Ross.
Wow. Decent, eh?
You literally you push your glass up and it's right in the room. How are you?
Good, you?
Good, you? Sorry, on Hronek, though, like, he looked awful against Ottawa.
Yeah, not great. It was kind of a good job by Stevie Y getting a first and a second for him.
Vancouver, man, like what
are you doing?
What a change of like pace here for our excitement and then what they're going through. I saw something with that trade because Hronek signed beyond this year. They're over the cap already for next season and they're rebuilding. Like
what?
They're at 83 and something already. It just mind-boggling.
Wonder if they're gonna get rid of JT Miller. I feel like that's the name that's been out there. You know, I don't know. They're clearly going through a deep rebuild here. So
is that a guy we get for the Sens third line, JT Miller?
No.
Talk about ruining locker room chemistry.
The cap would have to go up by a lot.
Yeah. No, thank you. I don't know, man. I mean, are you guys at all concerned that the Sens aren't picking until round 4 this year in a good draft? This is a good draft by all accounts, like 2020 level. You're no concern at all, eh? I'm in the same boat.
I don't give a shit about draft picks, man. I don't know how we're gonna sell our draft coverage this year with 0 picks. Hey, instead of doing like we've been doing the top 60 is what we've been doing, the top 2 rounds. Maybe we'll do Locked On Senators draft rankings from 90 to 200. Like we don't even look at the top 3 rounds. We just like I'll dig and go to everyone's list and do their bottom 10 guys.
All the guys who nobody's talking about any of these guys. They're probably none of them are going to make the NHL.
Yeah, exactly.
If anyone is concerned, because there's probably it's not good giving up draft picks if it doesn't amount to anything. But when you think about it, let's say they got a guy with this first round pick. They're probably not going to play in the NHL for another 3 or 4 years at best. And then you're talking about that's the end of Brady Tkachuk's contract. Like there's, the contention window, like this is the time to get players like Chychrun because you're hoping that they just develop into a Chychrun anyway.
Yeah. The window is officially open, fellas. Even if we know they're going to make a heavy push to make the playoffs this season, but if they don't make it, we can still get really excited about what's going to go down next season because this team's learned a lot of lessons over the last few years. They're going to be ready. They're young, and it's going to be the next 4 or 5 years. This is the same guys coming back for more, and they're going to be an absolute nightmare to play against. They have a great record against their own division this year. They're building these rivalries with teams like Detroit, and I think Buffalo is probably next on the list of Brady Tkachuk's reunion friendship tour. So, you get him out there. I love that this division's really competitive right now. Obviously, they've got the 2, dynamite teams with, I hate to say it, with Toronto and Tampa, and Boston. And I mean, even they can't be looking at the Sens and thinking that this is going to be an easy night for them because the way the Sens have been playing lately, this heavy hockey, it's a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams. So, gotta love it, boys. This is exciting times, and it's going to continue to be exciting times. It's going to be good for the brand here, Locked On Senators, eh, Ross?
Oh, it's so good for the brand. I absolutely love it. Meaningful games in March starting tomorrow against the New York Rangers. Will Jakob Chychrun be in the lineup? Sounds like all signs are pointing towards yes, but next thing is we need some sort of content behind how this trade went down with Dorion. Like that's big where I'm at right now, and we're hoping to get Dorion on the show right after the trade deadline. So I've got a request in for him next week, and hey, I almost want to clip the end of our interview where he's like, "I love to come on." It's like, you said it, dude.
Yeah, you should do that. You should post that. That's an automatic retweet for me over here. And I think he's going to be happy to come on after the deadline, after this move. He's going to want to talk to everybody. When you get Giddy Dorion, things are a little different. The last time you guys had him on was right after the Stützle deal. So
the day of. You
had Giddy Dorion then, and you're going to get him again here, boys. And I'm sure he's going to make his rounds and do a little bit of bragging around the media with this one because he doesn't get enough credit, I think, out there. He's kind of I don't want to say a goofy guy, but, he's kind of got that fun-loving attitude that you don't see from a lot of GMs. It almost takes a little bit of his professionalism or credibility away, even though for me, it doesn't bother me at all.
So fun.
Exactly. Like as long as he's making deals like this and doing the job that he's been doing, then you can't knock him. Honestly, it makes him even more likable because you don't have this grumpy old man like Lou Lamoriello making these deals. Like it's tough to get behind that too.
It's too much for too long. No, this is just chef's kiss. Matt Ward making a good point here. He's watching Chychrun highlights. A lot of his snipes are from the left circle. Like he's known as being a guy who shoots the puck an absolute ton. And he's also a guy we're hoping, like, knock on wood, but injuries are behind him. He obviously had 2 different surgeries this summer. I believe the Streets were the first to report that, if I'm not mistaken. Martian, am I right? I believe they were.
Which one was that? Sorry, I just didn't hear you there.
That Chychrun had a pair of surgeries this summer.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I think the Streets had
reported on the Streets, confirmed a month later by the Arizona Coyotes. So he missed the first couple of weeks of the season. He's been back and has not missed a game since, until he was sidelined on February 15th. Over 2 weeks ago, this guy's just been sitting around waiting to get dealt, and it seems like he went to his preferred destination with the Ottawa Senators. There's also a great feature here that I plan on watching right after we get off here. Megan Chayka, analytics analyst. That's live stream right there. Absolute beauty sentence right there. But talking about his tendencies. So I'm looking forward to seeing that on Jakob Chychrun. But dude, it was almost a year ago that our first episode went about Jakob Chychrun potentially coming to Ottawa. So now we ball. Now that's we jokingly tweeted, because the Locked On Red Wings guys, one of their things is like, we ball. So after the game last night, I tweeted at them. I said, no, we ball.
I didn't even realize that was a shot at them, but now I
Me neither. And that's funny. That's awesome.
We ball. We ball. So we had some fun with that.
Can I coin something that, like, if they go on a run here this month, they're not coin it, but like Brady Tkachuk coined it. Who wants it? I think that's the Sens thing now. Who wants it now?
I love that. Throw it on a towel, Jack.
There we go. Like, who wants it? And you can answer, but you got to be honest. If you don't, then you don't, and if you do, then let's bring it. Go Sens.
Yeah, you can make like a Red Wing and just do nothing.
They looked terrible.
Well, terrified.
Yeah, it's just cute.
It actually looks good in a hashtag too. I just wrote it out. Who wants it?
Yeah, Jack, maybe tweet that out now.
I might give it a go.
Hashtag who wants it, and you got auto retweets right here from the boys.
All right,
hashtag who wants it. That's the hashtag down the stretch for the Senators, because they're going to need to want it, man. Matt texted me this morning. He's like, am I crazy, or is this hell on earth in March for Ottawa? And just sent me a screenshot of their schedule. And when I wrote back, I was like, yep, that's tough. And he's like, okay, I just didn't want to be like Mr. Negative, but like, it's concerning. They've got a stretch. Like, Shawarma Palace is giving us tickets to give away. So get ready for that. And they're back-to-back games. And one's Tampa, the next is Colorado coming to town. Like, that's the Stanley Cup Finals from last year.
I got some breaking news here. It's not nothing crazy. Kind of has to do with the Sens. The Penguins traded a second-round pick for Mikael Granlund.
Oh, that's a nice pickup, but that means that they're not – like, we're seeing Washington completely fold the 10 on this year. That's Pittsburgh being like, no, our third line's been awful all year. We're going to try to add something and make a push. Basically, it's going to come down to 2 spots for Buffalo, Ottawa, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh. That's it. I think Detroit's out of the mix. I think Washington, Florida out of the mix. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. Absolutely, and what Detroit, like, are they for sure sellers here? Because I haven't seen them out.
Who?
Detroit.
Well, yeah, I mean they just got a first round pick.
They're getting rid of guys, so it's like they're not adding. So you're right. They're pretty much.
There's no one left on the market worth a first round pick anymore. I don't think.
I feel really bad for James Duthie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, there's still gonna be moves. I feel like people are always trying to find corresponding moves. Yes, our boy Doodling Daryl, who wants it? Shirts are coming.
Nice.
We need this. I need it. That's instant purchase coming.
I think it's perfect, man. It's like it's a good like saying, if they go on this run, like I think it's and it was the captain in a great moment, like, and they'll all dig it up, like they love that. I think so.
Our boy Ali confirmed the Red Wings don't want it.
We need a chart. We need a chart of all the teams, like who does and doesn't want it. Right now, the Red Wings are in the don't want it.
You gotta be a little. I think the category of who does want it, I would be a little worried about the Boston Bruins. And if the Sens somehow do squeak into the playoffs here, that's the team you're going to end up playing. And Brad Marchand would have a field day.
I don't hate the matchup, though. Which
I know. And I only beat them twice. They're the only team in the league to beat them twice. I know that. But you got
Marchand?
It's the Bruins.
Quick hitter. Who would you okay, now, fellas, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but let's get crazy. Who would you rather play in the first round, Boston or Carolina?
Carolina for me.
No, I'd rather play Boston.
I agree.
The Sens are not winning a single game in Carolina. I promise you that.
I like the matchup better for Ottawa. As far as physicality, the way the Sens play, I don't know. Really,
not me.
I like that they just played both of them on the road, so you kind of got a sense of what a game one would feel like maybe. In that Boston game, it felt closer, but it was afternoon.
I don't know. Like I felt
Carolina's
like
just like
out of that game, even though the score was closer than it should have been. I don't know. For me, I feel like the quote unquote superstars, because they really don't have one of those like really solidified superstars on the Hurricanes. But the guys they have up front are skilled guys who aren't that physical, and you start to really run into them and give them a physical time. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, Ross, and I can tell that's why you're laughing. But
I'm laughing.
Carolina, that's my final answer.
I also just put up a poll saying who wants it, and the options are Carolina or Boston. Who wants it? Let's go.
All right, we're starting it up. I'm fired up. Who wants it? I don't know. Like, do the Bruins? Do the Hurricanes?
It's 90% Boston early with 100 votes. Let's go. I love seeing this vote counter just absolutely fly. Great time to remind everyone that we're live after every game. We got 3/4 of the postcast crew right here, as we are very pleased to have at Leams Martian, at Jack Richardson. You can find them both on Twitter, being a part of the postcast crew and just overall best friends of the show here at Locked On Senators. Pilsy's 30,000 feet in the air on his way to Los Cabos. I've been responsible today. I've been joking around, had one margarita, one beer, but I got to pick up Pilsy in about 3 hours. So I'm on the waters now, cooling it down. Absolutely fired up, though, that Jakob Chychrun is an Ottawa Senator. I can't wait to look Pilsy in the eye in a couple hours and say, yeah, man, we manifested it. Took a long time. We were at the point where I almost muted Chychrun on Twitter because we were getting too many updates. And it's almost like you don't want to get your hopes up at that point because it wasn't. It's like, okay. And then finally, when you let go of all that hope, boom, you get the notification. Jakob Chychrun is an Ottawa Senator, and it cost them absolutely nothing off their roster. Martian, give me your final thoughts. We've been going on almost an hour. We'll get Pilsy's take on this tomorrow morning. Locked On Senators, live from Los Cabos. We're at the Rio Palace. How are you? A little all-inclusive action for the next 5 days. Locked On Senators. We'll have all your trade deadline coverage for you. We've actually already done a quick video that you can go find after this one. My immediate reaction with Brett Holden from Locked On Oilers. He called Jakob Chychrun the biggest fish in the pond, so I started reeling it in, right? The Senators
carrying look like a fisherman right now, too, with that getup you got going on.
Buddy, you should have seen me with the Ray-Bans on, too. I think I posted that quick one.
Are you going to go out in the deep sea and do a little, like, sword fishing or something?
Tomorrow, we got a boat taking us out in the ocean. It's whale season down here, so we're going to go find some humpbacks.
Fun.
Yeah, so we're fired up, but, long overdue. Everyone's chirping me. They're like, dude, you're doing a week-long bachelor party? Well, the fellas were all planning a trip before COVID. Obviously, that threw a wrench into it. One of our best friends from high school moved down here. He does real estate in Cabo, so we got the local pricing and everything. So stayed at his place last night and then checked into the hotel today. So we're absolutely buzzing. It's just about sunset right now, but the sun's rising on the Senator season as it really feels like meaningful games are going to matter even more. And like, boys, I keep going back to it, but we need like, we got the video on the plane, and Jack, great point, being like, we need more of this. Like, it feels like he shouldn't be there. I love that line from you, but I need their immediate reaction to this. I want to know what Brady, what Shabbat, what Sanderson, what these guys are feeling right now, because it has to be just kind of like a weight off of their shoulders. It's like, hey, we got another guy to come help you out 20 minutes a night. So I'm fired up. Marshall, what's your final thoughts on today's show? Because we got a lot to get to. We've been covering a lot. And if you missed any of today's postcast or breaking news, our live reaction here, it's just amazing. It really is. Like, I had lost all hope that this was going to happen. So I'm just feeling very, very blessed that we battled through covering a bad team, and it really feels like we're at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Final thoughts from me, Ross, and I'm going to take a page of the great Brandon Pillar's book. I wish you could be here, Pillsy. Have a safe flight. But all I got to say about this is, Ross, I am fired up about the Jakob Chychrun trade. Go Sens, go. That's how Pillsy would have done it, right?
Yeah, he would have. Jack, what do you got?
Same thing, man. This is perfect. Like, the roster's intact. Everyone's healthy except for Josh Norris. The Sens are buzzing. Like, they're back in a big way. Huge week, and Dorion related. He rewarded the boys, which feels good. So I'm happy, and I just can't wait to watch them play. I wish they had a game tonight. It feels wrong that they don't.
My final thoughts, and it's a question for everyone. Do we have a nickname? Is it Chick? Are we allowed to say Chick in this day and age?
Let's just see what the boys end up calling him. I think it's always Chick. I think it is Chick, right?
It's got to be.
Chick it rolls off the tongue so nicely.
Let's hope that. And I'm gonna do the dad joke thing here now. Let's hope the Sens can go on a bit of a Chick run to finish this
season. Well, we know he's Pilsy's favorite player. Now he's got 6,001 chickens, or chicks, I should say, as we are absolutely buzzing. It took us 50 minutes to get there, but the dad jokes are absolutely flowing. Oh, boy. We do have to mention, Hip Hoppopotamus, you know that we're going to talk tomorrow about the rookie of the month, not the rookie of the week, Mads Søgaard. Unreal. 4-0-1. We'll get to that on tomorrow's Locked On Senators, and I think we're going to be talking about Jakob Chychrun, the newest member of your Ottawa Senators. Thank you so much for joining us for a bonus hour-long live reaction. And I want to thank @Jack Richardson, our boy. Make sure you're following Jack on Twitter, and @LaLeemsMartian. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. We had Chicken Parm, and now we got Chicky Parm, as we saw in the stats here. Matt getting that one out there. It's a A++ trade for Pierre Dorion. Like, let's finish off on that. Out of 10, what's this deal for Pierre Dorion? Jack, start with you.
It's a 10. Like, you can't draw up a better deal than this. Do you think it's better than the DeBrincat deal? And I'll throw that over to you there, Martian.
Ooh.
Compare them. There's face value of the trade, because DeBrincat's had a full year here in Ottawa already. But
for me,
which trade is better?
For me, I can't. It's so hard, Jack, because the need is there. Like, you really need this player.
3 picks for each, though, right?
Just
it's 7th overall.
Where we are and what time it is, it's better. I like it better. This is the deal. Let's go.
I'm just replying to your tweet, Martian. #who wants it.
Who wants it.
Let's go. Who wants it?
And to answer the poll we put up 6 minutes ago, 254 votes. 83% say bring us the Boston Bruins in the first round. But first, the Sens have to go on a Chick run. Could it start tomorrow in New York? We'll talk about that and then have all your coverage in the postcast afterwards. For Jack Richardson and @LaLeemsMartian, these fellas want some Go Sens Go in the chat. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat. We appreciate you greatly for making us your first listen each and every day, and go celebrate this one tonight, Sens fans. Cheers to you. You've been here through dark days when we were the team that was accumulating draft picks over. It was nauseating how many draft picks they've turned into, but now those players are contributing members of the team, and Jakob Chychrun is the latest reinforcement that's going to make it happen. I'm calling it right now. Sens are going to make one more trade for a forward, for a middle six centerman. We'll talk about that and more on tomorrow's Locked On Senators podcast, but soak this one in, Sens fans. Jakob Chychrun is a member of the Ottawa Senators, and they gave up absolutely no players off their roster or prospect list. We'll talk tomorrow on the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.